Well, good afternoon to all of you seekers of wisdom and joy. I'm Kevin Kell, 75 Oxford College, 77 Emory College, and I'm staff liaison to Emory Global 60 Plus Network. This is another in a series of monthly digital events brought to you by 60 Plus, which is now Emory's largest network, serving over 30,000 alumni over 60 years of age. If this is the first time you've joined us, we want to offer you a special welcome, and we want to tell you that we would love for you to make 60 Plus events part of your regular routine. I'm particularly excited to announce two things today. In September, after this long pandemic, we will have our first in-person event for Atlanta alumni, and you'll be receiving information about that soon. And in October, at homecoming, we will hold an in-person event for all Emory alumni over 60. That will be a cocktail party at the Miller Ward Alumni House. So look for information on both of these events, and we hope you can join us. So I want to take a moment to introduce Emory Alumna Network board member and dear friend, Linda Smith, as she introduces our speakers for today. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. As we contemplate and enter our retirement years, many of us are thinking about making some changes in our lives, our locations, and our daily goals. What are our best choices about an occupation? Will we charge ahead into retirement or ease into it with a part-time job? Are we living in the city of our choice now, or do we want to live in our dream city or closer to family and friends? Is it time to downsize into a smaller home or move into a no-yard condominium or even a graduated living property? If we're ready to retire, how will we spend our time? Will we take classes to learn new things, step up our volunteering, or pursue personal passions like gardening? Today, we're very lucky to have Maureen Sweatman to help us envision the changes we'd like to make, and Chi Chi Okezie to guide us to find community when we step into those changes that retirement will inevitably bring to us. I'm grateful to have known these two wonderful Emory women and consulting business owners for many years and appreciate that they're willing to share their expertise with us today. One housekeeping comment, we are going to keep everybody muted so we can keep the sound better for the presenters. So please put any questions you have into the chat, and as moderator, I will do what I can to get your question asked. Maureen, will you please get us started?
Absolutely. Thanks, Linda. It's great to be with all of you. I'll give you a second here while I share the screen. All right. All right, Linda, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the slide correctly? Or Kevin, anyone?
Yes, it's good. It's good.
Okay,
thank you.
Great. Thanks. So the hard thing about these Zooms, right? You're in a vacuum. So a little bit about me. So we're going to focus on vision for the first part of this, like Linda mentioned. And thanks first to Linda for the idea to have Chi Chi and I present to this group. We're both very excited. And of course to the Emory Alumni Association as well. And thanks to each of you for making time to join us for this conversation on potentially creating, the change that you want for the next phase of your life. So let's jump in. A little bit about me, who is this bringing and sharing this with you? I'm the founder and chief joy officer of Joyful Living Coaching. That's my business that's been in practice for 7 years now. It goes fast. I'm a certified coach with the International Coaching Federation, and I'm a leadership and personal development coach. I'm also a mom and a zookeeper, which is code for I have way too many animals and probably should live on a farm. I'm a proud alumna of Wofford College in South Carolina, and I have 2 degrees from Emory, a Master's of Divinity from the Theology School, and an MBA from the Business School. And then I worked in higher education for 15 plus years, many of those years at Emory. So that's how I know many of you as well on the call already. I started my private practice 7 years ago at a transition point And so coaching really is what brings me joy and what I have unique strengths for. So just a note here, as we move through this presentation, the things I will share are from my context, my experience, either with myself or my clients. This may show up a little differently for you and your particular lens and context. So don't take this as, you know, one size fits all. Obviously, we want to keep that in mind as we move through. So agenda, so you have a sense of where we're going here. First, we'll talk about why vision matters. Second, talk about creating a vision and what that really means. And then practical considerations for making vision a reality. And then we'll end with setting SMART goals to really support that vision. Otherwise, it's just something we did, and then it sits in a corner and gets dust, and we don't really use it. And then, of course, we'll have Q&A at the end. So I'll move quickly because I have a lot I want to cover in my 15 allotted minutes. So make note of any questions you have, either by dropping those in the chat and they'll keep track of them, or writing them down for the Q&A section at the end. And remember, you'll get the recording, so no pressure on note-taking here. So first, as you notice, I speak fast. I like to start a lot of my presentations just with a quick moment of silence and getting centered, so that we can be centered in our bodies, stop multitasking, spend a few moments in silence so we can be open to what we might learn. So wherever you are, get comfortable in your seat or wherever you are, get yourself grounded and comfortable. Close your eyes, and then we're going to do some deep breaths to engage and calm our nervous system down. So breathe in and hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, someone, okay. And then again, breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so hopefully that's just a little centering for you. Real nice. I don't know about you, but that always makes me feel better. So why does vision matter? So the truth is, what we focus on grows. And I'm getting a little nod that my network is unstable. So if I pause, that's what I'm doing so that I'm not glitchy for you. So what we focus on grows. Most organizations that we've worked with or volunteered for have a mission, vision, and values statement articulated. And that's what they operate around ideally, right? But most people don't. You know, working with my clients, myself included, we don't really have a sense of what our vision is. And so it's really important to remember that what we focus on does grow. If we focus on the negative grows. If we focus on the positive grows. I have this print in my office as a reminder to myself and my clients when they meet with me. It says, when you focus on the good gets better. So just a reminder to us to focus on what we really want to happen and who we want to be. This is really about how you want to feel and who you want to become, and it's not about stuff. We often too easily think it's about stuff when we think about vision. The next thing I wanted to point out is when you think about visioning, this isn't the space for playing small. You want to dream big. Now, you can't dream so big that you think, well, you know, when I retire, I want to be an astronaut. That's not realistic. It has to be realistic and grounded in reality. But dream big within that. What does that look like for you? And when you start to do this work, fear is going to raise its hand and say, excuse me, Linda, I need you to sit down somewhere. You're doing too much. You want to check that fear. And fear doesn't always sound like I'm scared. It sounds like but I can't because. So pay attention to where you're hearing the buts when you think about your vision. Where are you putting up obstacles for yourself when you're doing your visioning work? I was reminded in a training just today on a course I'm doing on habits, the power of visualization. And I've taught about this for a long time, but it was really reinforced because this class is based on brain science, that when we use visualization, we visualize a positive outcome and we consider the obstacles, which we'll talk about later, that really works with the way our brain functions rather than against it. Like resolutions work against how our brain functions. This is why they fail. So visualization, while some people may poo-poo it, right, as that's kind of lofty, heads in the cloud kind of thing, this is an actual strategy based in brain science that actually works. Pro athletes who get paid big bucks use visualization to enhance their performance. It can work for you too. So a quick story, just to move us quickly on. I did this for myself. I created a vision board at a kind of critical point in my life about 7, 8 years ago now. And I did a vision board. I did a 5-year vision board, which isn't always common, but that's what I did. That works for me. I'm a strategic thinker. And 5 years later, when I did the 5-year check-in, I had been checking in all along, mind you, and it was in a visible place where I saw it and interacted with it. But everything had come to pass on that vision board. I dreamed big, and I was kind of blown away that all of that had come to pass. So I can have firsthand testimony that it works. So vision does matter. All right, so going back to this notion that this is not about stuff and it's not the time to play small. You want to think about how you can create a bold vision for who you want to become. It's all about, we're always in a state of becoming. Who do you want to become in this next phase of life? Some questions to consider, and I'm a coach, so I can come up with probably 800 more questions, but here are the ones that seem relevant to consider and start with. There may be some others for you given your context. Who do you want to be in the next phase of life? That's the one to start with. Who are you becoming? What values will you continue to live out? What words and images come to mind? How do you want to feel? And here you want to use all your senses: taste, smell, touch, hearing, seeing. How do you really want to feel in this next phase of life? And then what will bring you joy and meaning, right? We as people need meaning. We're meaning-making creatures. So what will feel like purpose to you? And for me, joy and having meaning and purpose are one and the same. But for you, that might be different. Joy is, again, contextual. Where do you see yourself geographically? Are you in a warm climate? Are you in a cold climate? Are you in a tropical climate? Are you in the States? Are you in India? Where are you geographically? Who is present with you and how do they show up for you? Is it your children? Is it your community of friends? Is it church members? Do they help you run errands? So think about these kinds of questions. And then when will this vision commence? When will it begin? Is this something happening 5 years from now? Are you already kind of in the process? When will this bold vision that you create for yourself, when will it really start? So these are just some questions to consider. If there are others that you're already considering, or if my naming some of these brings others to mind that I haven't named, feel free to put those in the chat in case they're helpful to other attendees as well. And then how do we make that vision, that kind of up in the clouds notion, this creative, into a reality? Well, step one is to get it out of your head and make it tangible. So you can do that in a journal. Some people are journal people. They can write it down, they can draw it, whatever medium works when it comes to that. You can make a vision board. I'm a big believer in vision boards. I referenced it earlier. Come December and January, my calendar is full of doing vision board workshops and trainings because people love it and it works and it's something tangible. And again, if we don't have something tangible that helps us stay in touch with that vision, we lose sight of it. So I put a link here to a worksheet and a video. But if you go to my website, and I'll give you that towards the end, and you'll get a worksheet handout with that, you can go to my website and it's there in the resources section as well. If you'd like to make a vision board, I'll walk you through how to do it. You can also make a video or a voice recording. You can just say or speak what your vision is. And you want to think about making it tangible by sharing it with someone else that can be an accountability partner for you. Research has shown when we can create accountability for ourselves, and usually in another person, that sets us up for success. Because again, that works with how our brain functions rather than against it. We quickly lose motivation and willpower at no fault of our own when we try to go solo white knuckle it. So find a way to build some accountability for yourself. And then step 2, consider the practical implications. So here are some questions to consider. Again, there might be others, but these are some I offer. How will you care for yourself during the different stages of the next phase? What will that look like? What health, financial, and legal considerations are needed to support your vision? What resources do you need to add or put in place to make the vision a reality? What are the practical considerations and logistics involved? That might include timing, the cost, the impact on the relationships in your life, maybe friends, family, the different communities you're involved in. How committed are you to making this vision a reality? On a scale of 1 to 10, where'd you put yourself? Who can be a source of accountability for you, as I named earlier? And then how will you handle the unexpected? Now, we can't really plan for that, but we can think about, again, the brain science tells us if we visualize positive outcomes and think about the obstacles, we set ourselves up for success. So how will you handle the unexpected? And I would argue you could draw from your experience to date, because I bet you've overcome some unexpected things in life. I know I have. All right. And then another way to, or step 3, I guess I would say, in making it a reality, your vision a reality, would be to set 2 or 3 SMART goals to start. So many of you may already know SMART goals. I'll go. So you see this image here that breaks down what the different letters stand for. S is specific. What do you want to do? And get really drilled down on this one. Don't make it too generic. M is for measurable. How will you know when you've reached it? A is for achievable. Is it in your power to accomplish this, right? That's like the silly NASA example. Can't actually become an astronaut next year, right? That's not achievable. And then R is realistic. Can you realistically achieve it? And then T is timely. When exactly do you want to accomplish it? So again, that's putting some timing, because we know if we don't put timing on it, again, it doesn't happen. So one of the things you can ask yourself once you get your vision set, one of the things you can ask yourself about your vision is, what can you start, stop, or continue doing that will support your vision? That can help you to start thinking about what these SMART goals might be. You want to make sure that you use strong action verbs and not passive language. For example, I will try to go to the gym once per week versus I will go to the gym once per week. Try is passive. And we know what Yoda says about try. SMART goal examples here to help you think about the difference. So SMART goals could be something like, I will go on a cruise to Mexico in February. I will increase my activity level by going for a walk every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 15 minutes starting this week. I will create a budget by the end of this month to determine how much additional income I need to bring in and where I can reduce expenses to reach my financial goals this year. So those are really specific, kind of hit all the markers of SMART goals. Now, these next ones are not SMART goals, and they're often what the kind of things we say for New Year's resolutions, and studies show 92% of those fail, 92%, because again, they don't work with how our brains work. So I will travel more. I want to be healthier. I want to be rich by next year. That's not a SMART goal. Those are just wishes. So think about what SMART goals you can set for yourself. Remember to keep fear in its place. When you start to do this, you'll start to hear all the buts. I can't because. So remember to check fear and keep it in its place. Fear is a passenger, not the driver. And then you'll notice I've underlined 2 to 3. SMART goals, where it says identify 2 to 3 SMART goals. 2 to 3 is really, again, what our brain can handle. If we try to take on too many at once, and I'm looking at you, my type A people who want to give me 15 goals when I would do my coaching, that doesn't work. So 2 to 3, even 1, start with 1 SMART goal is a good start. Set yourself up for success. You build confidence that way. And then a few slides here at the end. I almost always include this slide with every presentation I do, because we, as beautiful human creatures, way too easily give our control away and think we don't have control and are constantly grasping for it. You really are still in control. You have control over your reactions to what happens around you. You have control over being grateful for what is precious to you. You have control over telling your loved ones how you feel about them now while you can. You can take control over any emotions that threaten to paralyze you or derail you from your goals. You can put fear in its place. You have control over that. You can put them in the passenger seat. You can control how you show up every day in support of your vision. You can change your mindset so that it supports your well-being. And finally here, you have the power to choose and create the life you want and become the person you dream of becoming at any stage of life, because we're all in a state of becoming. So I hope this was helpful. And again, you'll get this information and I'll drop some of these in the chat. Please reach out to connect. I try to be a source of positivity in the world and not that toxic positive stuff that's not grounded in reality, but kind of the real stuff. So if you're on Instagram and Facebook, feel free to follow me there for joy scrolling, is what one of my clients named it years ago. And then on my website, I have lots of books, videos, worksheets, different resources on different topics. And feel free to email me and reach out. And then if you would like some help from a coach in thinking about this next phase of your life, feel free to book a consult and see if I can be of service to you. And then finally here, before I pass it off, I like this fun video and this question: what if you had this kind of joyful energy for the next phase of your life? Your vision can get you there. This may be loud for some of you with headphones, so be prepared to turn down. All right, I'm going to pause him. You get the idea so that we have time for questions and moving on. All right, so who has a question?
I'm asking everyone to please put your questions into the chat so we can address them. At this time, there are no questions that are waiting to be answered. So why don't we move on to Chi Chi, and that'll give us more time at the end for everybody to put their questions into the chat. Thank you so much, Maureen.
Thanks, Linda.
The ball's yours, Chi Chi.
All right, great. Hi, everyone. I am Chi Chi Okezie. Some of you may know me. And let me go ahead and share my screen with you, and we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, excuse me. Hold on. Okay, great. I'll go from the beginning. Okay, Linda, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am, you're perfect.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying safe. I am Chi Chi Okezie. I'm Oxford grad of 98, 2000 for the college. And I actually met Linda on the Emory Alumni Board. So she was my mentor and took me to every single event that Goizeta had, and I'm ever so grateful. And I still go to a few of them. And I met Maureen actually through the Alumni Association, and she's been a great supporter. And of course, Kevin and I, we go way back. So I'm definitely glad to be here. I'm excited to talk about networking as a lifestyle, just practical steps to achieving your goals. Maureen did an excellent job on how you can visualize and be able to set realistic or smart goals, and now taking these goals and being able to use them for networking, really. And my question to everyone is, and you feel free to put it in the chat or you can think about it. It's a rhetorical question. Do any of you have a plan for your networking? Any of you have a plan for your networking? Yes, no, maybe, sometimes it changes. Well, I haven't done a formal market research, but most people do not have a plan for their networking. So I'm hoping that we can change that in the time that I have with you. So I'll go ahead and move on to my next slide. As I mentioned before, I'm Chi Chi Okezie. When I'm not doing volunteer work and out and about on the alumni scene, I have my own business called Simple Networking, where I teach the art of networking and cultural awareness through seminars and workshops. I've been doing that for the past 16 years. And I've published 2 networking books, as well as received a proclamation for Business Networking Day, which is November 13th. So definitely mark your calendars. So what are we going to talk about in the short time that we have together? And I'll try not to go too fast and keep a steady pace. We're going to talk about the useful benefits of networking, normal versus new normal. I also have a bingo sheet because I like bingo. And we'll have some Q&A and some wrap up. So let's go ahead and get started. So the benefits of making networking as a lifestyle. I have 4 benefits here, and I'm sure there are probably more, but these were the 4 that I really wanted to focus on: involvement, influence, connections, and communication. So involvement, as we all know, when you're involved with something, it keeps you active, it keeps you engaged, dedicated, committed. As Maureen had said, almost like a self accountability, if you will. Influence. When you're networking, you can, and I gave the example with Linda, mentorship, you can advocate, and you can also be a leader in your networking spheres of influence. Also connection. So we know that networking is mostly about building relationships, fostering relationships. And I'm sure for some of you, these relationships have spanned years, if not decades. And then communication. There's one thing that I learned with networking: when you're out and about, building relationships, talking to people, learning about different things, it sharpens these hard and soft skills for lifelong learning, right? Okay. So we have our we have our normal networking. So normal networking, which most of you probably already do, you volunteer in your communities. So whether you are, retiring, semi-retired, you've relocated, you're always finding some particular place to give your gifts, to give your, show value to your community and to support those around you. Then sports, some of you are, I'm sure, still active. I've actually taken up hiking. And it's coming along pretty well. I do like a mile. I know that means nothing, but it's a lot for me. But you join different sports leagues and you play tennis or golf or hiking, things of that nature. Also with normal networking, you're joining groups, organizations. I hopefully we'll be traveling to Highlands, North Carolina to visit my dear friends, Paul and Ruth McLarty, of those of you that know them. And so they are extremely active, and they're in different country clubs. They have even a chapter, not really a chapter, but there's a good group of Emory alumni in that particular area as well. And they come together and have different events. And then you network with your alumni. So for example, this amazing group, which Kevin says is the largest affinity group. So I'm excited. I might have to crash your September event. So just keep that in mind. So you network with your alumni, going to different events with people that you went to school with, that you might have shoulder years that might have been above or below you. But basically, the normal networking scene is volunteering, sports, membership for clubs, and alumni, and networking with alumni and the alumni association. So now I want to introduce new normal networking. And I got this, and I kind of coined this from, the pandemic, or as we're going through our new normal. So there are a few of my suggestions, and they might be slightly Gen X and millennials. So please bear with me. You can always customize them to fit your comfort level. Tech savvy. If those of you who are really into technology, you like to, I suggest following blogs, downloading apps, and getting subscriptions or being on mailing lists and newsletters. And the reason why I say that is because it's constant, so you can be able to gauge the frequency, but it also has a lot of up-to-date information, ways that you're able to connect, not just with people within your region, but also outside of your region. I especially like to follow blogs to get different ideas of different things that I can do in my spare time or hobbies, and even subscribing to different YouTube channels to see. I'm a big fan of do-it-yourself. I love before and after pictures and things of that nature. So if you are tech savvy, I suggest downloading specific apps that are interesting for you, or that build your interests, that allow you, if it's for cooking, it's for traveling, it's for fashion or entertainment or things of that nature, as well as signing up for newsletters to get, and like I said, you can gauge your frequency of the information, but also to get new current updates of things that are going on in your area or even outside of your area. Now that we have this remote capability, we're not really, we're not restricted to geographics, right? The other thing is paid contributor. So if you are brave enough to be a part of focus groups, you can get paid to do different types of research, as well as secret shopping and even freelancing. For those of you who love to write, for those of you who have other hobbies that can actually be monetary. And in this case, you have different organizations who will hire you, or who will be able to put you on for different projects. And they have a few of those online as well. I think there's one called Fervor, where you can join as, I think, free, or there is a membership, and you create a profile where you actually can offer different services, whether it's anything from web design to proofreading to editing to even coaching and things of that nature. The other one is government. So I'm not trying to be political, but you can attend local city council meetings, committees, task force, and that's another way to expand your influence, to expand your brand, to meet and network, and also see what's going on within your community. And I was doing that pre-pandemic. I live in South Metro Atlanta, Georgia, and I would attend our county city council meetings. So that was a great opportunity to meet law enforcement as well as the mayor of our city, and see what different activities were going on within the community. And the other one is meetup. So when I say meetup is like when you actually meet up with someone, and you actually meet virtually first and then meet in person. So that's something to consider. And meetup groups are usually based on interest and affinity. So it could be a book club. I know there are a few meetups for French, because I do speak French, parlez-vous français? But you also have those particular groups where it's really based on your interest. And there are a few that are based on business as well. So our new normal networking, we can be tech savvy, we can get paid for our knowledge, we can also be very influential in our communities, or we can meet up virtually and then in person as well. So kind of like a hybrid dual type of thing. All right, and now we have the new normal networking for alumni. And I was really excited when I was putting this together, because I think that this is sometimes an untapped, underutilized piece of our alumni engagement or even identity. So first and foremost, I hope everyone is registered on the Emory Alumni Directory. Yes, we're about to do that. Kevin's gonna send the link later on as a follow-up. Thank you, Kevin. But yes, I highly recommend, if you haven't already, please register. And you also get a an email that has your name and I think at alumni.emory.edu. So that's another great way to stay connected, branding mechanism. But the reason why I really push for registering on the alumni directory is because once you register and you put in all of your information, then you can start to search and connect with alumni. And this is a little bit, I would say it's a little bit more customized than LinkedIn, because within the alumni directory, you can of course see where your alumni went to school, which schools they went to, which years, as well as what they're currently doing now, where they're located. So if you decide to travel somewhere, you can connect with people, you know, in different places, as well as they show the different clubs and memberships, different groups, fraternities, sororities that the person was involved in when they were a student at Emory. So this can be very useful if you're trying to connect in regards to interests, as well as other aspects. So like I said, it's a very underutilized tool, and the search capacity is pretty cool if you are looking for a particular thing. And also as a mentor, you can register on the directory and consider yourself or put yourself as a career advisor to help current students and past students, young alums, and then also reverse mentoring as well. The other thing is leadership. And I know some of you are already in this role or have graduated or retired from that, but I always say, you know, lifelong learning, there's always mentoring, there's always someone that needs to learn something new and exciting, but still consider leading chapters and committees and boards and groups. And I believe that a lot of them are starting to even resurface, or there are new ones that are coming out. So for example, I will be rolling off as alumni counselor for the Campus Life Committee for the Board of Trustees. And this was a new role that they created 3 years ago, like literally before the pandemic hit. So it's been interesting, but nonetheless, it has given me a lot of opportunities to learn more about the university, about Emory and its role with Atlanta, as well as other different aspects of campus life that I never really knew even as a student. So it's a great way to stay connected, and you can definitely reach out to Kevin or even Sarah Rawls, who can direct you into different spaces and committees where you can use your talents and your skills and your abilities. And then there's procurement. So this is probably one of my favorite. Once again, another underutilized aspect. I think it's a form of engagement, but every university has a procurement system or procurement services where they have vendors and suppliers. And I think some people think, well, if I'm not teaching, then I really can't interact with the university or do business with them. And I beg to differ. It's just an exchange of services. So whether you still have your own business, or I think you can be a sole proprietor or an individual and be able to offer services to the university outside of your volunteer work, which can be very helpful in building the community and also giving back as well. And then last but not least, being an ambassador. So focus on sharing your particular Emory story with others. And I know on this call, we have a lot of amazing storytellers, but being able to hone in on your reason for coming to Emory, or why you're so engaged, what inspires you, what makes you get involved, and really having a way of expressing that when you go to events, whether it's homecoming, which is coming up in October, or even when you're on campus, if you have the ability to go on campus and meet different people, being able to share your story is very powerful. We know that storytelling is like, and please chime in, Linda, storytelling is the marketing gold, right? Absolutely. So being able to, and another story here, I tend to network with Paul and Miss Ruth. And for those of you who don't know them, Paul is a 63 graduate of the college and 66 graduate of the law school. And we met on the Emory Alumni Board when he was rolling off as past president and I was rolling on as a new member. So clearly we did not go to school at the same time. But nonetheless, I love to shadow Paul, and he's an excellent storyteller. And he even has, so this is an idea that you can think about as a new normal, or maybe a part of your group. He invited me to a storytelling group. So it's a group that meets once a month, and they have, you know, criteria and lists or rules for storytelling, but it's almost like karaoke, but you're telling a story. So you come up on stage and you have about 10 minutes to tell a story, and there's a specific format for the story. And you get a chance to share your personal, your professional experiences, something funny that happened to you, something that was a life lesson. And it was quite engaging. It was about an hour and a half. And I did learn a lot about each of the different presenters. So you have about 8 presenters that present for about 10 minutes. But the point of that is going back to the storytelling. If you're able to kind of hone in and share different components of why you're so engaged with Emory, that's definitely a new form of alumni networking. So we have online, we are going to update our information on the Emory alumni directory and start to do some searches and look for different types of alumni that we can build relationships with or learn more about. Leadership, just still continuing to get involved in different types of activities to support and advocate and sponsor others. And also procurement, consider procurement if you feel like you would like to do business with Emory. And then also having that, being an ambassador, being able to share your story and your brand and why you're so connected with Emory. And then, and I know I have about 1 or 2 more minutes here, but Linda will send this to you, but this is my simple networking bingo. Yay! And so what you can do this as a group, or you can do it by yourself, and you can choose to go across from left to right or right to left, up, down, diagonal, however you choose, and just kind of do each of these activities for a week or for a day, if you're really robust with your networking, as just something fun to just keep your networking fresh and vibrant. And I will stop sharing my screen here so that we can take some questions.
Thank you so much, Chi Chi. I really appreciate it. One of the questions that has come in is for people who have retired during COVID that has delayed their ability to enter into new communities and to volunteer. So one thing I know I have a friend doing is she is doing elementary school tutoring via Zoom. Do either of you have suggestions about how to, let's see, Maureen, I'll start with you, how to specifically adjust your SMART goals due to COVID, and then Chi Chi, how to adjust your networking strategy during COVID?
I think the first step is checking in with yourself about how comfortable you are in the virtual space, and if there's any skill building you need to do there to be able to do things virtually. So, you know, folks are on Zoom, so they figure that out, right? So where can you be on Zoom for things? And particularly, you know, lots of places are doing a hybrid model. So looking to see where are places you feel comfortable going in person versus virtual, and determining that for yourself. But make sure that that's in support of the vision you see for yourself. Make it relevant, not just, oh, I need to volunteer for volunteering's sake or networking for networking's sake, right? When it's connected to your vision and who you're becoming, that's when it's more powerful. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you. Chi Chi?
Yes. And I definitely want to piggyback off of Maureen. I completely understand your concern. And so I would definitely recommend, there are ways of connecting, even through networking virtually. One of the things that you can do is the organizations that you're already a member of, ask them if they do have hybrid or virtual, you know, meetings and ways of connecting. Another thing would be, as I mentioned before, ascribing or subscribing to newsletters to get different types of information from organizations of their different activities that they're doing, and even suggesting to have more virtual activities that would gear to different populations. And the reason why I say that is because when I used to intern at the French American Chamber of Commerce, they didn't really have a paid internship. So what I had suggested was creating like a pass-fail or independent study where the interns could do the internship and get a certain number of hours for school, which would kind of be like a trade-off, because you wouldn't be spending that money, the physical money, for credits, but you would be getting credit towards graduation. So even considering if you are going to be a member of certain of these groups, and most of them do meet in person, maybe there could be some type of discount for virtual activities, or not all of the in-person activities. I hope that makes sense.
Another idea, Linda, before we move on, that I thought of that has worked for me, because I see the follow-up that some folks are tired of virtual. So figuring out how to do this safely, right? Like how to get connected. One thing is to that accountability partner, have a friend or a neighbor that you can go on walks with. So where in your community can you go for a walk? So I live here in Georgia, and Avondale Lake is close to us. And so I have a friend that we walk with regularly, and that's safe to do. And sometimes I invite others like Linda, Chi Chi, your invitation is standing if you want to go walk. But we interact with lots of people there because other people are doing the same thing, but it's safe, right? Like there's distance. And so thinking about ways that you can get out of the house, you can still be safe and make connection with people.
Thank you, Maureen. And Chi Chi, that was part of my follow-up is maybe we can take just a minute to brainstorm some outdoor activities that we can get involved with in the time of COVID, and joining a garden club and joining walking groups are two that came quickly to my mind. Plus, in my past, I was seriously devoted to running track, and there actually is a senior games that you can show your athletic prowess at and participate. That happens, I think, once a year. So those are the ones I can think of. Can y'all think of some others?
I thought of two more. Local hospitals and neighborhood associations or community centers often have programs particularly targeted for different age groups or different affinity, right, interests. So looking to see what they might have available for virtual or in person, whichever is your preference. So those are a good way to get connected, and those are often free. So look into the hospital in your neighborhood or in the area where you are, or community centers or neighborhood associations.
I had mentioned this earlier, there's always hiking, or you can do walking trails as well. Those can be very relaxing. The other thing is, and I'm trying to think of my time at the Highlands, there's also, I know if you're part of like Rotary Club, for instance, if you're a part of a Rotary, at least their Rotary clubs, they do have activities for the community outdoors, like different types of parties for holidays and seasons. So they have and this is done outdoors, but it's like it's a relay race for ducks. So you buy a set of like plastic ducks and they take them down, and they're numbered, so it looks like a marathon. And they kind of take it down a stream. But nonetheless, not every Rotary Club does that. They also have different activities for like Halloween, where that is done outside as well. So it really is about connecting with maybe your Chamber of Commerce or your county Chamber of Commerce or a Rotary Club, or even if you are part of other types of civic organizations, usually around, and I'm kind of, well, we're lucky, Linda, Maureen, and I, we're based here in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. So the weather is very mild during most of the year, but other times, you know, these outdoor activities may only be concentrated on certain particular months, and because of just the harsh weather.
Thank you, Chi Chi and Maureen. We had some wonderful suggestions on the chat about OLLI, and of course, our wonderful 60+ global network are partnering on events and presentations. And OLLI has some, if you're in the Atlanta area, they have some wonderful classes that you can participate in. And I just can't remember what OLLI, O-L-L-I stands for, but something about Lifelong Learning Institute, I think. I don't remember what the O is. So thank you for that suggestion, and Carolyn, and thank you, Gina, for suggesting volunteer match for volunteer opportunities. And of course, our beloved Emory, if you're in the Atlanta area or affiliated with an Emory, oh, Osher, thank you. If you're affiliated with an Emory alumni group, there is a wonderful opportunity, regardless of where you're located, to participate in volunteering with Emory. And trust me, your alumni group would be thrilled to have your time and your expertise. Let's take just one or two more questions. One big burning question that we haven't exactly addressed in a focused fashion is how do we decide and things to consider about transitioning to perhaps an assisted living or a senior community, or make a big change in our physical location, which of course would change our community. Maureen, can you start with how you would decide to get a specific goal around that? And then Chi Chi, you can help us think about, once we get there to the new location, how we can become enmeshed with that new community.
I think for me, it goes back to, what is the vision you have for yourself? Like, once you've done that process, what really fits within that? Because some of those questions that I gave you to consider would help you to answer those, right? Where do you want to be geographically? Who is there? How did they show up for you, right? So if you're in a certain type of community, that's a known entity, right? Who are the people there and how they show up for you, and those kind of things, you know? So I think considering those questions, and then at some point it comes down to, you have to make a decision. So that goes back to the timing. When will this happen? Often, I have a mother in her 60s, so we're having these conversations. We often wait too late until something happens, usually health related, to make decisions. So I think just the fact that you're even considering thinking about what your vision is and how that impacts particularly your physical space and your geography is an important first step. So really getting clear on, how do you see yourself in the next phase, and what would fit with that, right? Like, if you see yourself being really active as long as you possibly can, does that fit with some communities or some geographies that you're considering, right? If you want to be outdoors 80% of the time, you probably can't go to Boston, right, Linda? Because it snows there a whole lot and you might fall down and break something. And then you have a whole recovery process. So thinking about, you know, again, what fits within kind of that realistic, make it practical, but also because you don't want to be miserable in this next phase of your life. What would truly bring you joy in this space? So make sure that they're compatible. So that would be my advice.
So I would suggest, when you relocate, you know, once again, let's jump on that Emory alumni directory and let's type in the search for city and state or zip code and see who's in that area and do kind of a cold, slightly cold, warm call and just say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm moving into this area. I'm an alum. You know, do you have any suggestions of things I can do, or can we meet up, or, you know, this, that, or the other. Another thing is to get the local paper. If you can get the local paper, either, you know, buy it at the newsstand. We still have newsstands, right? We still have newsstands. Or if you want to get it digitally and save paper and be environmentally conscious, I totally get it. But getting the daily paper is another great way to read of different activities that are going on. And then also when you're in your community, reach out to your neighbors and find out what they're doing and how they stay engaged in things that are going on as well. So it's really kind of grassroots in the beginning, right? You're just kind of going where you are and just reaching out from where you are. But I definitely recommend using the online directory, reading the local paper, and then reaching out to your neighbors, your local neighbors.
And Linda, can I circle back to additional thoughts? The more you can investigate on the front end, right? Like if you think, oh, I might want to live in Florida, go visit Florida in a realistic way, not on the resort. Go stay in an Airbnb in a community you might like, right? Like do the research and then see what is it like to live there for a weekend or a week, or, you know, the more you can do that, the more information you have to work with to make that decision. You can also ask people, again, thinking about that accountability, ask people in your circle, whether that's relatives, friends, neighbors, who can give you some feedback about your thinking, right? Like bounce ideas off of them and see what they have to say about, you know, they know you and can give you some feedback, and ask for kind of the truth, right? Like don't rose color it for you, but right, like help you really think through it so you can make a sound decision.
Great suggestion, Maureen. And thank you to Maureen and Chi Chi for your time today. I'm going to toss it back to Kevin to finish us out. Thank you all for your time.
Great. Well, again, thank you, everybody. What was your big takeaway? I was just sitting here thinking that I think mine was the comment about fear being the passenger and not the driver. I might have to have that tattooed on my forearm. While I was sitting here listening, I remarked to myself how this core message of being part of community dovetails so beautifully with the sort of the mission of the Emory alumni networks, which are, to Chi Chi's point, all about reconnecting with the university, connecting with fellow alumni, and as a way for Emory to give back to alumni, which is all what we're talking about is community. So I think, you know, that's a promo for continuing to be involved with our Emory 60+ network. As always, we always want to hear from you. It's very important to us as a group to make our programming as good as it can possibly be. And our objective is for it to represent the interests and concerns of our folks our age. So, you know, please reach out to any of us. You have my contact information. We'd love to hear from you. As I always say, my door is always open, and I would love nothing more than to hear your Emory story. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you.